Hello everybody, welcome for this match of the 8th of finals. So this match is organized by the Quarks Foundation here in the Netherlands and in Slovakia as well. And we'll have two of the 16 teams who are qualified for this 8th of finals. So we'll have a match against each other. So namely University of Melbourne, where it is the morning already, and as well in Canada, Western University, where it is the evening, the day before. So my name is Aurélien Lorange, and with my colleagues, Miss Urbanova and as well Miss Munteanu, we'll be hosting this match. So as usual, we'll ask simply the participants to introduce to each other, and afterwards we'll start with the allocation of the positions, and as well, of course, talking about the topic. So maybe I would like to give the floor already to one of the first participants, who is Miss Farshian. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, this is Ghazal Farshian from the University of Melbourne. I'm a JD student here and I'm in my second year, and it's really amazing that I get to have this match with you guys today.
Thank you very much. Miss Awa?
Hi, my name is Megan. I just completed my first year at Western Law, and I'm really excited to get into this match with you guys.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston?
My name's Ben. I'm a first year law student here in Melbourne, and I've had a great time doing these debates. So I'm pretty excited for today. It's going to be great.
Thank you very much. Miss Dreiber?
Hello, my name is Justine, and I also just finished my first year of law at Western University, and I'm really looking forward to today's debate.
Thank you. Miss Stevens?
My name is Megan. I'm also a first year student here at Melbourne in the jurisdiction program, and yeah, really excited to get to this stage of the competition.
Thank you. And Mr. Parubek?
I'm Dylan Parubek, and I'm really excited to get this debate started.
Thank you very much. So you received a topic 10 days ago. This topic that you had to prepare, on both sides, in favor and against, was a vaccine can be the subject matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it. So this was the topic you researched on, and now I will share my screen, so you will be able to see the allocation of the position. So in a few seconds you should see the wheel spinning with indeed two possibilities for each team. So two possibilities for Melbourne, two possibilities for Western University to get in favor or against. So up. So for this match, this is University of Melbourne will be in favor, and this will be, of course, Western University will be against the motion. So concretely, the University of Melbourne will be defending the position that a vaccine can be the subject matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it. And Western University will defend the position that a vaccine cannot be the subject matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it. So my colleague will share her screen for the 5 minutes, and after we'll start obviously with the position in favor of the motion. Here it is, time is up, so we'll be able to start the debate. So, as that was the University of Melbourne who got in favor for this debate, I would like to give the opportunity to the University of Melbourne to start with the opening statement for 4 minutes. So you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Dear judges and colleagues, today we'll discuss why we believe that as IP rights are territorial rights in a sense, and vaccines are no exception to this fact, a vaccine can be the subject matter of a patent only in the territory where the company invented it. Have you ever thought about the power and impact that patent holders have in controlling access to life-saving healthcare, determining who obtains access to first and at what price? When it comes to something such as a pandemic, if there is anything world leaders agree on, it's that no one is protected until everyone is. Most people in the poorest countries will need to wait another 2 years before they're vaccinated against COVID-19, according to references in Nature. Around 11 billion doses are needed to fully vaccinate 70% of the world's population against COVID-19. As of 4th of July, 3.2 billion doses had been administered. More than 80% of those doses have gone to people in high-income and upper-middle income countries. At the current vaccination rate, this will increase to around 6 billion doses by the end of the year. Researchers from the International Monetary Fund, based on Washington, D.C. projects, we quoted from them. We don't need to go that far to argue that limiting the extent to which companies can patent vaccines. The pandemic and many state responses have brought on what the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has described as a parallel pandemic of human rights abuses. Patents are generally seen as a necessary incentives for the development of health technologies. However, the extent of control given to patent holders for vaccines must be limited. While intellectual property rights are not the only reason for inequitable access to vaccines, they are a significant barrier. Similarly, while a waiver is not the only means to tackle the lack of access to healthcare technologies, it is an essential element of facilitating equitable access. Is it time? Okay. Thus, today, we will argue that a vaccine can be subject matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it, because, first of all, vaccines are considered public health goods and should be accessible to everyone. It is against human rights laws to have prevent worldwide access to such goods. And secondly, we'll argue that as vaccines are public health goods, it is the responsibility of governments, states, and international organizations to invest in the research and development, production, and distribution of the vaccines. And thirdly, developed countries cannot single-handedly win the battle against viruses and pandemics. Now, let me introduce you to our main arguments one by one. So our first submission is that the right to health is enriched in numerous human rights treaties, including Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Article 12 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which states that everyone has the right to enjoy the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. The World Health Organization has called on governments to place human rights at the heart of their pandemic responses, including by ensuring universal access to COVID-19 vaccines, therapeutic and health technologies. They are globally understood as public health goods, and access to them are a part of human rights to health. Some countries still continue to oppose waivers of intellectual property rights, first put forward by WTO in October 2020. In effect, these countries are blocking attempts to universalize access to know-how technology and materialize and manufacture of COVID-19 vaccines. Ensuring patents do not limit access to COVID vaccine is therefore a human right obligation. And secondly, we submit that as this is a responsibility on the governments and states. And okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. So now I would like to give the floor to Western University as well for the opening statement. You have 4 minutes.
Before I begin, can I just confirm that I'm audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Good afternoon to our judges, and good morning to my colleagues at Melbourne University. Today, my colleagues and I will be arguing that a vaccine must not be the subject matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it. Patent protection grants a creator a short monopoly over the idea, not allowing others to copy it. Biotech firms across the world have argued that patent protections are in part why vaccines, such as the COVID-19 vaccine, can be developed and produced in record timing. For example, developing a vaccine involves a large upfront cost for research and development. However, with a guaranteed period of market exclusivity, creators can incur these upfront costs as they are confident that they will be able to recoup their initial investment. However, without patent protection on an international scale, companies in other territories will be able to enter the market at a later date and create an imitation product, not having to incur these upfront fixed costs. This would discourage pharmaceutical companies from inventing novel vaccines, suppressing investment in future vaccine research and development. Therefore, international patent protection is beneficial as it encourages quick and novel innovation. Further, multi-territorial patent protection does not prevent other territories from utilizing a vaccine. Instead, there are systems in place to allow countries to waive patent protections to take advantage of vaccines. For example, the World Trade Organization's framework, the Agreement on Trade-Related Intellectual Property Rights, also known as the TRIPS Agreement, allows countries to apply for compulsory licensing to waive patent rights in situations where there is an illness that needs rapid global production of vaccines. Additionally, during the COVID-19 pandemic, many middle and high-income nations have joined the COVAX agreement, pledging to share their vaccines with low-income nations and to provide charitable vaccine donations. Therefore, multi-territory patent protections still allows for vaccine equity and global health. Finally, if a vaccine was subject to a patent only on the territory where the company invented it, this would discourage pharmaceutical companies from inventing vaccines for diseases that affect countries outside of their own jurisdiction. Thus, multi-jurisdictional patent protection strikes the right balance of necessary patent protection and the promotion of human health. Today, Megan will be presenting our first argument, that expanding the territoriality of patents will reduce bureaucratic roadblocks for countries in need of vaccines, while still providing the economic incentives for companies to develop new vaccine technologies. Secondly, Dylan will be arguing that a shift to only domestic patents would result in the patent industry moving away from small countries and becoming monopolized in larger countries instead. At the end of our submission, it will be clear that a vaccine must not be the subject matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. So now we move to the first round of rebuttals. So I would like to give the floor to the University of Melbourne. You have 2 minutes.
Our opposition's argument that maintaining economic incentives of pharmaceutical companies is a valid concern. They are overlooking the fact that vaccines are a public health good that must be accessible to everyone. It is through the incredible medical advances of vaccine production that smallpox, which in the 20th century alone killed between 300 and 500 million people, has now been entirely eradicated. It was only through a big campaign with the WHO leading countries to collaborate and the absence of big pharma companies seeking to make a profit that humanity's battle against smallpox was finally won. Our global fight against COVID-19 will require the same commitment to public health. Simply donating vaccines is not enough. We must empower low-income countries to produce vaccines on their own terms. The course of the pandemic has already demonstrated that limiting access to vaccine technology only extends the pandemic for everyone. In the era of globalization, it is not enough to focus exclusively on vaccinating one's own population while overlooking vaccine levels across the world. This was illustrated by the emergence of the Omicron variant at the end of last year. In South Africa, where the Omicron variant emerged, only about 25% of the population were vaccinated. Omicron has now become the dominant strand and is more contagious than its predecessors. Further, it has produced numerous subvariants, each more proficient at infecting and worryingly reinfecting people. A UK study has shown that the best protection against Omicron is 3 vaccine doses. However, with only 0.7% of people in low-income countries having received a booster shot, compared to half the population in high-income countries, without significant change, we are unlikely to see the end of mutations prolonging the pandemic. Ensuring that a vaccine is the subject matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it is a crucial step to increasing vaccine equality across the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now as well for the first round of rebuttals, I would like to give the floor to Western University. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My opponents have argued that patents impede global access to health goods. However, I must respectfully disagree. A 2022 multinational study on patent rights protecting BioNTech Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine concluded that patents are not in fact to blame for vaccine shortages. Instead, the 3 key factors needed are 1, an increased know-how transfer, 2, the lifting of all export bans regarding vaccine ingredients, and 3, an increase in financial aid, all of which could be improved by removing the administrative barriers that come from applying for multiple national patents. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the fragility of the global health system, and it is imperative that the international community take charge and make the necessary changes to intellectual property laws before the next crisis arrives. This includes ensuring that patents for vaccines apply beyond just the country that the vaccine was invented in. Diseases are now able to spread more quickly around the globe and have a potentially greater and more devastating impact on our communities. And if pharmaceutical companies can quickly develop treatments and vaccines to combat them, then they should be able to apply for broad patent protection that would allow them to cover costs and produce vaccinations as quickly as possible. Vaccine development is a highly risky, uncertain, and capital-intensive business. It has an average of a 94% chance of failure. Meanwhile, the estimated cost per approved new vaccine varies between $1.2 and $8.4 billion, which is significantly higher than the cost of finding and developing a new drug. Patents provide both economic incentive and protection for pharmaceutical companies to make returns on the large investments that go into vaccine development. As such, patents need to provide a range of protection that is equal to the risk being taken by pharmaceutical companies who are tasked with finding these global cures. Continuing to force companies to apply for multiple patents in different countries adds undue production costs and only increases the price of vaccines once it's approved, and adds on time it takes to distribute it down the line, making it harder and taking more time for individuals and governments to afford them. For decades, the world has been evolving. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now we move to the second round of rebuttals. So I give the floor back to the University of Melbourne. You have 2 minutes.
Just ask, can everyone hear me right now?
Yes.
Beautiful. I would like to respectfully talk, judges, to 2 points made by the opposing team. First, Justine, you referred to the relying on charity and the donation of vaccines as a measure that will aid in the assistance of getting vaccines worldwide. Whilst I totally agree that's an extremely important and legitimate form of ensuring that people have access to vaccines, as evidenced by the COVID pandemic, that is not enough. And I would say that institutionally, to rely on the charity of developed countries that have innovation in the form of their pharmaceutical companies will never systematically ensure that countries globally have access when we need it and when they need it to a sufficient amount of vaccines. Whilst I understand that the basic premise that providing patents globally, or rather having patents specifically for the territory they were produced in, may discourage innovation, I do agree that as a general premise that is legitimate. It is not sufficient, and it is not a sufficient argument given that governments can step in. So when we refer to countries like America or Australia or even Canada who have the ability and have the resources to subsidize these huge pharmaceutical companies that will innovate irrespective of whether their patents exist locally, nationally, or internationally, then we can do both. We can have pharmaceutical companies innovating and we can have them producing and still having significant amount of profits whilst ensuring that developed countries have the same access to patents as well. Lastly, I would just say that whilst we understand removing administrative barriers is important, it is equally important to do everything we can to ensure that developed countries have the same access to vaccines as we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So now, as well, for the second round of rebuttal, I would like to give the floor to Western University. You have 2 minutes.
Before I begin, I ask that I'm both audible and visible.
Yes, you are.
My colleagues at the University of Melbourne have stressed the need for investments in research and development for vaccines for the future. And the global pandemic has caused millions of deaths and trillions of dollars in damages. I ask, why should we take money out of the institutions that have produced the vaccines that have helped the world recover from this tragedy? And to my colleague Ben's point, why not just fund the patent rights that the corporations are paying? And by stripping the rights of patent holders outside of the country the patents were created, investors will pull their funding, and these companies will struggle to survive until the next worldwide pandemic happenings, lowering the value of the total amount put into investing. And corporations being limited to making profits from only where they produce the vaccine would see the sole focus of research and development on diseases in wealthy, populous countries. Because corporations, by their very nature and by law, are incentivized to produce revenue for their shareholders. Looking at the Australian case law of Walker v. Vinbrom, in which the judge stated that directors of a company, in discharging their duty to the company, must take account of the interest of its shareholders and creditors. And going back to my colleague's point about inequality, there is a certain amount of wealth or geographic area that'll be funded specifically given the incentive structure of banning countries from having patent rights in outside of where they were produced. And there are other ways that we could pay these patent fees to better the international community. I mean, even in 2021, there was over $100 billion donated in foreign aid, a small percentage of which can go to the company. This pandemic has cost so much. Let's learn from our mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we move to the conclusion. So for the conclusion, I would like to give the floor first to the University of Melbourne. You have 2 minutes.
Amount of political posturing or legal obfuscation can conceal the simple truth. In prioritizing the commercial interests of profit-making pharmaceutical companies and accumulating more COVID-19 vaccines than needed, states opposing the intellectual property waiver at the WTO are contributing to the continued sickness and death for people in low-income countries. It is only through working together in a collaborative global effort without the barriers of vaccine patents that we can return to normality following the pandemic. If we have learned anything from the last 2 years, it is that collaboration is key to addressing global issues such as pandemics. Therefore, vaccines should be the matter of a patent only on the territory where the company invented it. We have demonstrated this through 3 core arguments. Firstly, vaccines are public health goods and should be accessible to everyone. It is against human rights laws to prevent worldwide access to such goods. Secondly, as vaccines are public health goods, it is the responsibility of governments, states, and international organizations to invest in the research and development, production, and distribution of vaccines. This would best protect the incentive to innovate while protecting the public from pandemics. Thirdly, in our globalized age, it is not possible for countries to battle COVID only by vaccinating their own population. As Omicron has illustrated, unless vaccine inequality is addressed, the pandemic will only continue to be drawn out, causing needless death and suffering globally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would like to give the floor as well for the conclusion to Western University. You have 2 minutes.
I will now state our conclusion that companies should not be stripped of their patent rights in countries outside of the state that invented the vaccine. Our first speaker, Justine, has outlined the significance of deterring investment in research and development of vaccines that would be caused by taking away the rights of the patent holders. Additionally, Justine has demonstrated the protections in place against bad faith actors in the forms of the TRIPS agreement that waives patent rights. Our second speaker, Megan, has shown the importance of keeping our medical institutions financially viable and the heavy costs that are involved in creating a vaccine. Myself, as our third speaker, has reiterated the consequences of de-incentivizing medical institutions from funding research and development outside of their home country. And in conclusion, the international community was built on learning from our past mistakes and funding institutions so as to prevent unnecessary suffering from occurring again, both public and private companies. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused so much worldwide harm. How much more needs to be borne by the most vulnerable until we learn not to weaken, but to strengthen all of our medical institutions? Each day, the international community waits another day, and it's another day closer to the next global pandemic. For the sake of all those people of yesterday who had their lives so tragically destroyed, and for all those people of tomorrow whose fate rests in our hands, it is important that this great responsibility not be shirked. Western University asks the international community to refrain from apprehending the vaccine patent rights of companies in countries to which they were not invested. On behalf of both Justine, Megan, myself, and Western University, I would like to thank both my colleagues at the University of Melbourne and the judges.
Thank you very much. So from now, you are not anymore under evaluation of the judge, so thank you again for your match. So we'll be able to give as well the floor in order to get your impressions for this match, and as well including for the coach who is present in the room. So I will start first of all with Miss Farshian. So what did you think about this match, the performance of your team and the team of Melbourne? Of Western, sorry.
Hi, everyone, again. So first of all, I wanted to thank the organizing team and my wonderful, wonderful teammate for previous round that you arranged everything last minute when I couldn't make it. And second of all, I wanted to say that this match was a really special match to me because I'm also from Canada. And it was, as much as I wanted us to win, I actually wanted them to win too. I don't know if it's how it works, but I would like to see them in the upcoming rounds. And I just wanted to wish everyone the best of luck. It was an amazing match and we learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Miss Awa.
Hi, it's so nice to hear that we have another Canadian on the team. That's amazing. This debate topic was really interesting. My teammates and I definitely had a lot of fun with it, and debating with you guys was a really cool experience, and I think you brought a lot of good points to the floor and really kept us on our toes. So thank you guys so much, and yeah, we're just grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kingston.
Hey guys. Yeah, that was amazing. We had a really fun time, and it was really interesting debating you guys. You guys are clearly like super well coached and really drilled. I like how you said like, am I visual? Am I audible? It's just like you guys know exactly what you're doing. So it was really nice to debate against you guys. And I think we learned a lot. I'm very proud of us. Thank you again for the judges for last week as well. That was really kind. Yeah, and hopefully we advance, but you know, if we don't, I'm expecting Western, you guys got to take it all the way because I'll be very disappointed if you don't.
Thank you very much. Miss Driver.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I think I can only just echo what my colleagues, both in Canada and in Australia, have said. This was such a fun topic to debate, and I'm so proud of my team. I'm so proud of the Australian team as well. You guys did amazing, and no matter what happens, we should all pat ourselves on the back. Excellent job, everyone.
Thank you very much. Miss Stevens.
Everyone, I can only agree with what everyone else has been saying. It was such a fun round and such a relevant contemporary issue that has been affecting us all for the last couple of years. So it was fun to really hash it all out. So thank you, and thank you for the organisers as well, of course.
Thank you very much. Mr. Parbeck.
Yeah, I would just like to thank the University of Melbourne and everybody there. I thought they did such a great job. They bring such great energy and made such great points. And I also really liked how like you guys were all in the same background together. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but it's not like a glass thing right here. So I thought that was really cool. And you guys are all together. And yeah, I really thought you guys did great. Like, best of luck to whichever team goes forward, because yeah, you guys were great. And yeah, I thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to give as well the floor to Professor Van Oosthuvel, who is online.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. This was a fantastic debate. It was wonderful to meet our colleagues from Australia, and you can tell that this is the next level of debate, and so it was really exciting. Thank you to everybody. I thought you all did a fantastic job.
Thank you very much. So yes, so on our side, as organizers, we want to congratulate both teams indeed for working during the last 10 days on that topic, and as well for being able as well to connect on the evening, in the morning. It was a pleasure to hear as well indeed your discussion. Yeah, before giving the floor to my colleague concerning indeed again the next elements coming, yeah, just a random question about the connection between both universities, or both teams as well. So Miss Farshian is both Canadian and Australian, from what I understand?
Well, I'm Canadian.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not Australian, but
Okay.
I'm studying here.
Okay, but
Yeah, I actually just flew back from Canada a couple of days ago, so I would have been there, honestly, on the West Coast, on
the West
Mother
Coast.
Nature.
Okay, so from Vancouver, I guess.
Yes.
And so on the side of the Australian team, except Miss Farshian, have you been in Canada, like Mr. Kingston or Miss Stevens?
No, I haven't. But I wanted to do, I really want to go to, I don't know where Western University is, but I really want to go to Montreal. So I don't know if that's nearby, but
No.
no, it's not nearby. Anyway, I'm sure where you guys live is equally interesting.
So your son university is in Ontario, huh? So it's still the east side. So and Miss Stevens?
I haven't been either, unfortunately, but yeah, I would love to make it over one day now that we can travel again.
Yes. And on the side of Canada, so it means Miss Awa, Miss Dreibourg, and Mr. Parobeck. Have you been in Australia already?
I was briefly a few years ago for about a month doing volunteer work on the marine habitats. So it was really cool. I was up in Queensland near the Great Barrier Reef. So I didn't get to see Melbourne, but I hear it's a great city.
Yes, and Miss Dreibourg?
No, I've never been, but it's definitely on my travel bucket list. It looks incredible.
Yes, and Mr. Parobeck?
Yeah, I haven't been, but I really want to go Sydney and see the Opera House and the Great Barrier Reef. So that's actually the next place on my my travel checklist.
Thank you. And Professor Oosteveld?
Yes, I've very luckily been to Sydney, to the University of New South Wales for a conference, and I got to bring my baby, and they put me at a hotel right on the beach. It was beautiful.
So yes, so that is another occasion for both actually universities to make connections in case you would like to visit each other as well. So for networking, but as well simply to get connected. So yes, we invite you as well to this event we have at the end of this week, just to make sure that indeed you can as well build some bridge between the students and as well between the institutions, just to create some projects or events if you wish. On my side, I've been in Melbourne. I was in this building where you are, like 7 years ago, visiting for a conference on IP law, and as well. In Canada, but indeed I landed only in Vancouver. But I hope soon to go as well on the east side of Canada. But yes, wonderful countries, both of them. So we hope that of course we'll be able to welcome you as well in The Hague, in the Netherlands. So you can as well visit the country and as well the legal community we have here. I would like to give the floor now to Miss Urbanova as well.
Thank you very much, and most importantly, thank you and well done to both teams. We've had the pleasure to watch you progress from the day one, be that a friendly match or a group phase match, and it's a pleasure to see you in 1H finals, and whichever team continues, best of luck. We'll get the results back to you as soon as possible, of course, with the form sheets as well, so you'll be able to see what the results of today's match were. Perhaps the first day that we can get those results would be on the 12th May, where we'll be doing the announcements on the event, the networking event, which you can participate by reserving a spot via Google form. The event is held on Gather platform, which means that we'll have to book spots on the server. For that reason, we need to know the exact number of attendees well ahead of time. On that note, you'll be able to interact with the teams from the previous matches in a bit more informal settings. You've already met most of them. I can confirm some of your previous opponents are also registered. So it's a good moment to meet again, make the connections outside of the somewhat formal setting that we have for the end of the matches. And of course, we'll do the announcement of the certificates that you'll be all receiving after the end of your participation in the competition. As well, the creation of the alumni club, since the competition has a one-time participation rule. So even though this year is the 1 year that you can participate as the team members, next year you can either join as student organizers coaches for your teams that will be following from your universities. Or if you would be alumni and working in your field, you can also qualify to become a judge of the competition for the group phase. So either way, we hope to see you in the upcoming editions and the events that will be taking place as well. And perhaps a bit of backstage information. At the end of the calendar year, we are hosting a Young Academics conference where both students, young professionals and established professionals and academics can submit papers and participate in panels of discussion with the different physical locations of the panels and virtual bridges. So it's a bit of hybrid event where you can also participate as an institution to hold a panel in person, and we'll work with you to connect with other participating institutions and partners.
Yes, so as you can see, there is a lot of things coming, and I will add one more, which is coming next week. Yes, my main job is to teach at the university here in The Hague. I organize as well a job fair for many years that, let's say, we invite many professionals from the international course, from the European Commission, etc. So you will be invited as well. You will receive the links if you want to attend. I mean, you don't need to register. It's just you receive the links, and then you will have the possibility indeed to hear the experience of students and as well practitioners of international law, and as well as the speech of the member of the European Commission on energy. Will speak about the question of energy in Europe, because some of our students gave some questions to the member of the European Commission, and she will be answering those questions live on Friday next week. So I will not play the game of the time zones now because I'm very tired, but you will receive all the links and you will be able to see what time it is for you next week for these elements. But again, thank you again, and I hope to see you as well on next Thursday for this event we organize with all the teams of the World Tournament. And of course, we keep in touch for the next elements of the competition and events in general. So thanks again in Canada. Have a good evening and night in Canada, and have a good start of the day. It's well advanced now, already morning in Australia. And I think with my colleagues in the Netherlands, we'll come back to bed, simply. So thanks again, and we keep in touch. Bye-bye.